Hello and welcome to Transcendental Transformation, the place where spirituality and transformation unite. Host Miss Raina imparts truth so that you can break through your limiting beliefs and evolve into a deeper consciousness. As you go about your day, remember, before every breakthrough, there is a breakdown. And now, let's start the show.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Transcendental Transformation. I'm your host, Miss Raina, and today is Tuesday, October 17th, 2017. We are coming live from the W4CY studios here in West Palm Beach, and I hope all your weeks has gone well. Well, today marks the 5th year anniversary of our show. And October 15th, 2012 is the first time we aired for and let me tell you something, it has been 5 amazing magical years. I'm so excited. I woke up today, and there's just a sense about, accomplishing things as far as that stuff. Thank you, Chad, for a little applause over there. Thank you. And, it's been an amazing ride. I started out with only a few listeners, and I used to have a co-host, and Melissa, she was on for a little while, and then I decided to take the show in a new direction, and now we reach over 30 states. We have other countries. We have a YouTube channel. We're here at the W4CY studios and everything, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and, I want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you all. Thank all of you, because without you guys, the show wouldn't be here anymore. I want to thank all those for writing in all the time. I know you guys don't really call in, but, I get tons of write-in from you guys each week, and especially on social media and everything, and it just makes the show that much more special. So you guys are amazing. Thank you, and I hope that we are around for another 5 years or even longer. Chad, how are you doing? I know you don't have your mic set up right now, but
here I am.
Here you are. How you doing?
I'm back in action. I'm doing good. We had a busy weekend this weekend. We played in Lauderdale, Boynton Beach, Del Rey, and it was hot outside, of course, still. We're still waiting here in South Florida for some cooler weather.
Is it as hot out there as it is right now?
Don't even start
sweating.
that.
You see me sweating, right?
Let's look over here at the temperature, 72. Why are you sweating at 72?
I don't know. I have to get out the little napkins and everything.
It's all good. It's all good. I dropped it for you. We're down. I put it at 68. So we should be all right in a couple minutes here.
So everything went well though with the shows, huh?
Yeah, I think we had a good response. Made some good tips and met some nice people. And the greatest thing about it all, it was all on water. And that's the nice thing about being here in South Florida is the view.
Absolutely. How can you not love working down here? Because it's like you're on vacation all the time.
Probably don't leave.
Yes, exactly. I don't know why some people do. They head up north and they love it.
Get snowed in. Snow's not for me. But I'm ready for some cooler weather down here in South Florida.
Awesome. Well, I hope you have a wonderful week.
How was your weekend?
My week was great. I actually have been playing softball a little bit. I joined a new team in Fort Lauderdale and everything. I was helping out a team here in Okeechobee Park, but now I joined one in Fort Lauderdale. And other than that, it's been slow. I've been trying to, just rebuild my body, and I've been concentrating on that. I've signed a couple of new clients and everything, so it's been good stuff. So
right on, good news.
Thank you. So other than that, I have been watching this new show. Very rarely do I ever get on TV and actually like something, but I don't know if you guys, I was up late the last couple nights, and there was a new show called The Cabanero Effect, and it's on True TV, and it's a hidden camera show, which, they're a little cheesy, but this one does magic, and I gotta say, this guy is amazing. Like, I love magic, obviously, but what's funny about the show is he's such a good magician that it actually tricks people. I mean, people truly bite into this, and I watch in amazement, because it's not real, and like when he does his tricks, like it's not possible for that to happen, but still people bite into that, and I just love the looks on their faces, and I think it's so funny, and I always wonder, I was like, if that ever happened to me, would I bite into that, or would I be one of those people that were like, no, that's magic, but it's those kind of shows are light, and but it's good to teach, because because I like the show because it's good to teach people that people really believe what they want to believe. That, and it's not like it's, a harmful thing, but, a lot of times we do that, and it shows how our mind, truly wants to be amazed by something and see something different. And that's what I like about the show. But getting into tonight's show, we are not going to do any calls again tonight. One, I have way too much information. I have too much to go through. And then I think Chad said our Skype was down, right?
I think Skype is down nationwide.
Oh, wow.
I thought it was just me, but all of a sudden some calls started coming in from other engineers going, you got the same problem? Yep, that's what it is. So.
I feel like can't do it.
Skype's having some hiccups right now. Excuse it.
So if you would like to send a question out, I won't be able to get them until after the show, but if you'd like to send a question, web chat us on the W4CY.com website, or download the W4CY radio app. And as always, we are going to have an archive, a video archive of this show on YouTube at youtube.com/Transcendental Transformation Radio Show. And we are filming live, as always, from the Facebook, from my phone over there for Facebook Live. So
this just in, Skype is back up.
Oh, Skype is back up. Well, we
just
can't
like
take
that.
calls anymore anyways.
Oh, no. Sorry.
No, that's all right. That's all right. So tonight's show is The Age of All Souls Part 2. If you joined us last week, I introduced for a lot of you something that has never been heard before. It is in this information because I got a lot of write-ins. I got a lot of write-ins from people being confused. Some loved it. Some had a hard time with it. And I get it. When you don't hear something or when you're hearing something for the first time, sometimes, especially with the conditioning of our minds, it's a little hard for us to accept new concepts. And then once all of a sudden we start to hear something over and over and over, it's a little bit easier for our mind to accept it. But I'm going to try to get through to all your questions over the next couple of weeks and stuff like that, because there was a lot of questions that came in from that. But to review, I want to review this a little bit, because for some of you that missed last week, I hope you go back on the website and everything and do the archive. But, the Age of All Souls is broken down into 9 domes. And actually it's 8. And some of you caught that. It's 8 domes, but technically the last dome is split in 2. And that's why I say 9 domes. So you have the infant soul and the young soul, which make up about 5% of the world's population. You have the young adult soul, the adult soul, and the elder adults that make up the 90% of the world's population. Then you have the old souls, the elder old, which is 4% of the population, and then finally the ancient soul, which is broken up into two sections, and we'll get into that next week, or the blue souls, and that is less than 1%. That's like a 0.5%, if even that, of the world's population. And so when we talked about, the infant soul, the young soul, and the young adult soul, we talked about how what these souls lessons are and how they are and why they are. And as I said before, because many of you said, I get that the Age of All Souls is a dome or like a circle, and each dome is connected. But what they were having trouble is understanding how we go back and forth. And really, it's hard to explain over the radio. It really is. And a lot of times I have to draw it on a little piece of paper. But if you want to know, basically, if you can picture a circle, and you can picture 8 little circles around, making a giant circle, and if you label them out, and then all of a sudden you go from the infant soul, and then the young soul, you can go back to the infant soul, but you can never go up. You can't go up to something. So an adult soul can't go into the lessons of elder adult or old soul or elder old until they have achieved those domes. But once you have achieved those domes, you can always go back to any of them that you've done. And a lot of times that's what karma is all about. The true definition of karma, or what karma is really about, is bringing lessons from one dome or one life set of lessons into another set. And so when you think about that, it's not so much that you're getting caught up in karma, or karma's coming back to bite you, and because karma is not a punishment. But what it is saying that since you had little knowledge in this type of lesson, in this type of situation, now that you're older, you're more mature, you can understand something a little bit deeper. Now we bring it forward again to let's say we're an old soul, so that we can understand those lessons more in depth. And we're going to get into the old souls tonight, but I hope that clarifies a little bit for you guys. So, the foundation for being built for the infant souls, the young souls, and the young adult, are raw emotions. Remember that they are raw. They are primal. They haven't learned a lot of lessons yet. They haven't understood. They don't have a lot of sympathy for things. They don't have a lot of emotional understanding. They have the inability to understand some of the most basic things, and that's why a lot of times, you look at people and you say, how can someone do that? How can they do that to someone else? And you just can't fathom it. That's because you have matured through those domes, and so you yourself at one time have done those things. But now that you've come to an emotional understanding and a mental understanding, you understand that that's not something we should do. And so this is why I always tell people there is no good, there is no bad, there's no right, wrong, positive, negative, backwards, forwards, better, worse. Those are my no words. And why? Because when you understand why those lessons are coming in and what they're doing, then you understand why that's true. But they have a very limited consciousness. So the next set of domes that we're going to get into are the adult souls, elder adults, and the old souls tonight. So let's start with the adult souls. Let me get my stuff here. When you have the adult, elder adult, and old souls, again, make up 90% of the world's population. And this is when maturity starts to happen. It's still about me. You still like your material items, and you still like it, and you're really kind of, the adult soul really thrives on materialism. But they're set in their ego still. They're very hardcore set in their ego. They're set in their dominance. They're set in their control. They're set in their mind. For the adult soul, they still have very limited consciousness. Remember that every dome has a form of limited consciousness. Even when you get into ancient souls and old souls and elder souls, again, we like to think of things as a hierarchy. There's no hierarchy in the age of all souls. And so when you understand that, you realize that it's not like, when I say limited consciousness, I'm not calling someone stupid or dumb or anything, or they don't have the capacity to understand. I'm talking about spiritual, emotional maturity. So the limited consciousness, everyone is, I want you to think of the adult souls as like a 20-year-old. You have a 20-year-old, they're finally starting to understand life. They're getting a little bit edgy. They still haven't, been out in the world yet. So it's kind of like they're new to it. They want to go out, get, party hard and do their thing, and, money and cars and everything kind of look tempting to them. But they start to understand that it's not okay to hurt somebody. Like I said, back in the infant and young souls, they don't care. They don't care if they hurt you. They don't care if they rob you. They don't care what they do. Oh, losing my pen cap. And they don't care about that stuff, what they do. So when you become an adult soul, you start to mature. You start to say, well, you know what? Yes, I still want these things, but maybe, even though I'm mad at you, even though that maybe this isn't, the thing I want to do anymore. But sometimes you'll falter because remember, you're still carrying that stuff in from infant, young, and young soul and a young adult. You're still carrying that stuff in. So sometimes your motivation may allow you to do it. Sometimes you'll still do it anyways. You want a better life. You do. You think that money money and fame is the way to go. You think that, for those of you, I know we all know people that just think that athletes and movie stars are just the schniz over there, and they just will and that type of lifestyle is just so awesome, and they just wish and dream that was their lifestyle, and they go out and try to achieve it because they feel that they need to impress by status. So status is important to them. Because think of a 20-year-old, right? If you think of a 20-year-old, aren't status important? You grow up through high school, grade school, and all that stuff, and, being popular, having the dress shoes and all that stuff, it's still more than ever with the adult. But the adult is out to prove themselves. They want the cars, they want the jobs, they want the status. They will climb to the top. And that's why you often see a lot of adult souls in high positions. And a lot of times it's corruption, isn't it? Because they are impressed by money. They are impressed by the fame. They are impressed by that. And they will do whatever it is to get that. And that makes them feel secure. It's amazing how, each dome has its own little, niche of ideas and beliefs, but it makes them feel secure because what do they live for? When you're living for, money and status and all this stuff, what do you live on beliefs, right? They believe that what they believe is right, and there, not maybe not as much as the young soul, but there is absolutely no change in the mind at all. And so they have a very Dean's coming over here and messing up. But they have an idea of everything is black and white. This is the way it is. It's either this or this. There is no gray. And if they haven't learned it, they can't comprehend it. They may change when they start to advance maybe into the elder adult soul and everything. They will start to say, well, maybe there is a small gray area. But if you meet someone that is like this, that is stuck in their belief system so hard, not as much as the young soul, but they are a bit of an extremist themselves, where they're power hungry, and that's because that is where their consciousness rides. They need to learn this lesson. They need to learn that all this stuff doesn't bring them happiness. And how many of us have heard, money doesn't make you happy, fancy cars don't make you happy. They have to learn this. And it's a hard life for them, because it doesn't mean that not everyone in the adult soul is a corrupt person. It doesn't mean that, or everyone in the infant soul is a mean murderer. It's not about that. We take turns at different things. But for the most adult souls, even if they're wonderful people, they will still conform to these ideas, and they have a hard time. So people, a lot of times, for a lot of the struggles right now, there's, we have what's going on right now. There's a lot of LGBTQ issues going on between battling people and religious and spiritual things going on there. That always seems. And then all of a sudden there's the football kneeling and all this stuff. Those are people who are fighting with that are adult souls. Those are adults because they can't comprehend their belief system is right. If you don't kneel, if you kneel for the anthem, you're not this. And that's the reason why they get so angry, because they don't realize they can't see past themselves. So when you talk to them, the adult soul is funny sometimes, because when you talk to them, at times they sound so mature. They really do. They will sound so mature, and other times they won't. So imagine, have you guys ever met somebody and you just thought, wow, how does this guy live? And then you find out, or this girl live, and then you find out that they're multimillionaires, or they have such a huge successful company or whatever. And all of a sudden you're like, how does a person like this, who acts like this and treats people like this, have all that? That's the adult soul. That's the one that they have in order for them to start doing. We'll be right back after these messages from the life of Raina.
A message from the life of Raina. We live in a world faced with many tough challenges. Our lives become chaotic and filled with disaster ever so quickly, most of the time before we even realize. Our issues beat down our mental mindset, and an imbalance of emotions become prevalent. The life of Raina is dedicated to helping people on the deepest spiritual level. Miss Raina, the creator of Transcendental Development and Growth, works on your core issues and finds the solutions which allow you to break free from the emotional bondages of life, helping you achieve the life you've always wanted to live. Isn't it time that you lived life for you? Call the Life of Raina, 561-846-2190, and schedule your appointment today. That's 561-846-2190. Or email thelifeofraina@icloud.com.
All right, everyone, welcome back. You're listening to Miss Raina on Transcendental Transformation Radio Show. Today we are continuing with part 2 of the Age of All Souls. And right now we've been talking for the last about 15 minutes, we've been talking about the adult soul. And so, the adult soul, like I said, can be sometimes sound so mature. You get them and they like to show that they impress you. So they will come across as they're mature. They will come across as they're understanding. They will come across as they have the knowledge that you're seeking, or that when you're talking to them. And then they turn around and give in to their desires. They give in to their belief systems, and money will overrule. A job will overrule. Sometimes, they'll sell out. It doesn't matter. They will, it doesn't matter about relationships or anything like that. Even if it's their own family, they will do this. Another thing that the adult soul struggles with is drug addictions, or just addictions, I should say, not just drug addictions, but addictions, and drugs, drinking, partying, going like the go lifestyle, and I know we all have people, that know that somebody that has, addiction problems. I mean, addiction is very popular in this country. I can't speak for other countries, but it's very popular here, and most adult souls can't overcome that. And so, because they haven't learned, because everything depends on their success and how they view themselves. Remember, it's a very tight structure of belief of black or white. So the drug, the drinking, or the partying, the go, or whatever their addiction is, food or whatever it is, they can't overcome because it means their status. Or this is a representation of their status. This is what's going to make them successful or not. And even if they know they have to quit it or it's messing it up, they can't, because it becomes a part of them. The adult soul is going to do that, and problems become overwhelming. This is, and the insecurities get the best of them. In their mind, like, if something doesn't go to their plan, they fall apart. And a lot of times the adult soul makes rash decisions. It really does. Depending on the situation, they will make a decision without even thinking about it. And oftentimes it blows up in their face. And then everything becomes overwhelming, which is why addictions for them are usually, go hand in hand. Suicide, this is the most among all the domes. Out of all the domes out here, out of all 9 domes, the adult soul commits the most suicide. This is the highest suicide rate out of all the domes. They will kill themselves over relationships, loss of job, loss of money, loss of status. If they feel that they have lost their idea, if they feel that they've lost their status in the public eye, they will commit suicide. And a lot of times these are the people that you can't reach no matter what. And that's why, because they live in the need. They have to live in need. They need the relationship. They need the friends. They need the jobs. They need the status, the money. They have to feel important and have meaning. Otherwise, their life is meaningless. So, when we look at the adult, they can't make that healthy decision sometimes. They'll want to. They know that if I eat the McDonald's every day, that this is going to happen, but they can't overcome it. They can't overcome it because they're controlled. They haven't had the emotional strength yet to overcome their addictions or to overcome what they deem is the problems that are so overwhelming. And so a lot of times they will do that. And this is why the adult soul has to go through these things. They have to learn maturity. Adults try. I swear, they do try. Like I said, if you want to use my terms good or my no-no is good and bad, there is good people in every dome and there are bad people in every dome. I don't believe in that, but just for the sake of understanding. So I don't want you to think that being an adult soul is so chaotic and this is just a mess. But these are some of the lessons that they're going to learn, and these are some of the cores that they struggle with at often. So they have to learn that, they have to learn to overcome and realize that who they are is important and not so much the idea of status. So let's go on to the elder adult. The elder adult is a little wiser. The elder adult grows. The elder adult struggles with moving forward in that concept. So, a lot of times they believe in forward and backwards. They believe in, these people are, the adults and the elder adults are really big in my no words. They are strong in believing in good, bad, right, wrong, positive, negative, backwards, forwards, better, worse. And so in their mind, they struggle with moving forward. They appear carefree because they've matured a little bit. So they have that, that kind of carefree, like where they would appear to be an old soul, but they're not an old soul. And like nothing bothers them. They are so good at putting on a show, putting on a front. Like if the world was falling apart, don't worry about it. It'll all be over quick. They are so good at that. And they want to show you that they are mature. They think that they're an old soul. but they get caught up in their emotions. They have sometimes a superiority complex. The elder adult soul is transitioning from an adult soul and learning that there's a gray area, learning and starting to feel a little bit more mature, starting to feel a little bit older, but there's so much there's the knowledge and they're trying to gain, and so their idea of trying to show you sometimes comes across as know-it-alls. The elder adult souls will come across that way. I don't know if you've ever had conversations or on social media. I use that a lot because we're on social media now, right? So if you put down something, there's always somebody that is going to tell you how it really is, and that's the way it is, and you're stupid and you don't know, and this person is 100% right, and everyone else in the world is dumb. They think that they're old souls, but they're not. And this shows it. Anyone that has to show you that they have all this knowledge and everyone is stupid and they don't get it, this is the sign of the elder adult, because they're making that transition. I want to point out really quick, during transition times, there is a lot of struggle. There is a lot of chaos. Those are the lives that sometimes you feel like you're being bombarded with just life, and life is just beating you up constantly. And the reason why that is because you're it's almost like transitioning into another body. You're growing, your energy's opening up, you're allowing yourself to have more consciousness, more awareness. And in order to do that, you have to shed the past pain. You have to shed the emotional chaos. You have to shed, all the belief systems that you once had. And this is the hardest thing to do, because we know as people, we love to be stuck on our belief systems. We love to, what we know, and we don't want to deviate from that plan. And so when we have all these ideas, and that when we start to transition, that's why there's such a battle. That's why, like, a lot of people, questioning religion. Some people will never question about a God or religion or spirituality because they feel that I'm going to be punished for something. But at the same time, as they're transitioning, they're going to think, wait a minute. So I feel in my soul that something else is out there. I feel there's something more. And even though I've been told this, I'm afraid to move forward, but there's like this constant struggle back and forth. And that's what I'm talking about. So getting back to the elder adult, they start to realize, like I said, they start to recognize and feel their soul's age. And so that's why they start a little bit with the superiority complex of knowledge, because they, if you take like a 25 to 30 year old, they're finally not being called a kid anymore. They're finally being called an adult, treated like that. And they want to show that they know something. They want to show that they're part of the team. They want to show that they're dependable or reliable, and they're not a kid anymore. And this is what the elder adult soul does. The elder adult soul has to do that, but they don't realize how young they are. And these ideas create overeagerness. They have to strive for all this stuff, and a lot of times they feel like they're not doing enough in life. They always feel like if they're sitting around that they're not achieving anything, because they're overeager. They have to, like I said, the adult means well, the elder adult means well, but the ideas are not thought out. They have to learn to slow down. They have to learn not to think so much. They have to realize that they have to learn to question things. A lot of times they may question something at first and then deviate from that plan and then go through it pretty quick and understand that, hey, this is, and then just get hung up on the conditioning just like an adult would or anybody else. And so this is why that they have to learn to do this. This is why that maturity has to do. The mind expansion starts to happen, and this is a wonderful thing. I mean, each time you transition into a new thing, it's a wonderful thing because the mind expands. It happens. You start exploring your feelings in this one. You get a little bit of feelings in the adult soul, but this is where some emotional depth comes. This is when you start to understand a little bit of the pains of the world and the sufferings of the world, and start to realize, well, if I do this, I might cause someone someone else in pain. I might hurt someone, or I might do this, or this isn't, suicide isn't the answer, or this is going to happen if I do this. You start to realize consequences because of that emotional understanding. When you explore your feelings, your thoughts in your life, that's when you start to learn to care about things. You learn to care about the planet. You learn to care about life. You learn to care about the animals and one another and causes. But you just can't get caught up in your own stuff. You have to take a step back and say, you know what, yes, I believe I know this, but maybe I don't. Maybe there's a side of me that I'm not being aware of. Maybe as much as I think I know, maybe I don't know as much. And even when you get into the ancient souls, because the ancient souls and the old souls do this. We question everything that we do, and before we say something, we have thought about it and analyzed it and picked it apart and meditated on it and reached into the Akashic records and reached into the universal knowledge, and then still we always leave a question, because even though this information is here today and I know it's true, even though that, I still leave this open for growth. Because what if consciousness shifts? What if our consciousness shifts into something more, and then all of a sudden something else changes? What if some domes start to split because now we're older, we're able to handle more? And maybe what if 10 domes come or 12 domes come? And so you have to realize that nothing is set in stone. And this is a struggle for the elder adult. You have to expand your mind. You want things to change. I get that. You do. You want to become the activist. You want to, in your mind, and right or wrong or good or bad or better or worse, you want to, go and make things better. You want to change the world. You want to do that. But, these are starting to become non-material for you, and that's great. But you have to learn to take a step back and start slowing things down. It's not a race. It's not a rush. You falter at that because, we want to fit in. And the elder adult and the adult soul has struggled big time with trying to fit in. They love to fit in. They want to fit in. They want to go with the crowd. But at the same time, when in your mind, if something's wrong, and you'll go with the crowd, but still you'll be like, oh man, that's not right. I just don't understand it. I just don't understand why this is happening. You'll go, if you're hanging around friends and they're making fun of people, you'll still do it, but by yourself in your head, you'll be like, oh man, and you'll feel bad. Where the adult soul, yeah, they might a little bit, but anyone younger than that, they won't feel bad. Maturity has to happen. And I advise you, if you're listening to this show and you feel that you're an elder adult, the best thing for you to do, as I said, is slow down and back away from what you think you know and start to meditate, start to slow, because the greatest thing, because when you get into the old souls, when you start to mature in the old souls, and we're going to get into that in just a second, when you start to get into that, chaos is going to come because you're not emotionally prepared. You have a lot of baggage, a lot of emotional baggage that is carried because you have guilt and pain and suffering from these other things, because our souls remember everything. And it doesn't matter that your conscious soul in this lifetime doesn't remember. Your soul remembers every lifetime, and you have a record of it, and you have that knowledge to you ever. That's why deja vu happens. That's why these things happen where you just meet someone and you're like, I know you. And you may not have met them last life. You may have known them 1,000 years ago, or you may have a situation. You may be afraid of water because, let's say, 500 years ago you drowned or something. Because the soul remembers that. And this is the chaos that starts to ensue. It is I always tell people, sometimes I get, even today I had someone say, oh, well, how quick is it to get to the end? How fast, what's the cheat way to get to the end? And I tell everyone the same thing. It is not a cheat way. And the elder adult soul wants the cheat way. They want the quick end. They want the quick answers. The adult wants the magic pill. They don't want to do any of the work, and they want the results. The elder adult knows that there's work to be done, but wants to hurry up and go through. So the elder adult is also passionate. They passionate in an angry way. They get very emotional, because remember, emotion is starting to come into this. And a lot of times they have no control. It's their way, and if you try to talk to them, or if you try to tell them something, and they truly are emotional to this idea, or they just shut it down, it will become out of control. And then they will start to feel rejected by the world. When you start to get into the old soul, you start, even elder old, you start to taste that feeling of being rejected by the world, where you just feel a little bit distant. And as you go through the age of all souls, the older you get, the more distant you start to feel from the rest of the population. And there's a reason for that. And we'll get into that later. But you have this, but you gotta learn control. You see the ideas, you know that the ideas are there, but you're irrational at times because you want the end result and you want it now. And you sometimes, a lot of times, skip over all the things, and then it becomes a disaster. So start learning to do this. You must start learning at this point in juncture of your life. If you feel that you're an elder adult, you must start learning to break away from religion, politics, conformity. These things are killing your soul. These are why the emotional chaos is happening, because your adult part of you is saying, nope, 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 I believe in this. This is the way it is. This is what I was told. But the elder adult is saying, no, there's something else out there. And you will find freedom from emotional pain if you start to learn to break away from the conformity of religion, politics, society, all these things. You can still have a life and interact with the world and do all sorts of things, whatever you want, but you have to learn to start making it your own. You have to start learning to think for yourself. You have to start learning to create for you, because there is a gray area now. And you have to be less judgmental. It happens like that. You have to be able to do that. The elder adult, because I have so much information, honestly. I am running through a lot of this. Like I said, I'm eventually going to write a book on this, because there is so much information. I could probably do about 8 shows on these, and even break these down into even more. But I'm just trying to give you guys a little bit of a little brief insight into this. But the lessons of the elder adult soul are empathy and sympathy, sharing, learning to share, learning to find self-love, start playing a bigger role in your life, and it can't be ignored. If you are one that struggles between belief and something, and you just know something else is nagging at you, start looking into these ideas, start looking into empathy, start looking into sharing, start looking into self-love. Remember, remove yourself from this, because the moment you feel free, the moment you start to break away from this, is when you start to get into the old souls. So the old souls, because we got about 13 minutes left, if that, the old souls, live in voice. The old souls struggle with emotional chaos. They do. They really do. Think of the old souls, like the elder olds are about 30, 35, 40, and the old souls are like in their 50s. You're starting to become prime, your youth is gone, but you live in your voice. You like to share knowledge because you have so many domes behind you. And now you're an old soul. You feel a little bit of established. And so, like, 50-year-olds here and 60-year-olds here, they like to teach the younger people. They like to share their knowledge and pass that down. It's the same concept. And so they want to show their knowledge, and they like to talk. Old souls love to talk. They love to be able to share. They love to expand the consciousness. They want that thing, but they struggle with empathy. They struggle with sadness and depression on a deep level. And why? Because with an old soul, all of this stuff comes rushing back. All the memories of all the things that you realize that we shouldn't have done, hurt people, killed people, even ourselves have been hurt and murdered, and wars and stuff. You start to realize that these concepts aren't necessary anymore. And then all that pain starts flooding back. And so because empathy is now a big flame in us, and it creates sadness and depression, because this again is where karma comes back into play. It gives us the deeper understanding, because now we are in an emotional upset. We are an emotional part in our history. The old soul begins the true emotional roller coaster into the older domes. This is all emotion. This is all spirituality. When you are an old soul, all these other concepts, all these other things that you were once concerned about are not your concern anymore. You come to a deeper understanding of not only this life, but other lives. You inquire. The elder adult inquires about past lives too, because they're starting to tap into the old soul, and when they start making that transition too, and that may take a transition between domes may take several lifetimes. It may take 10, it may take 20. It depends on you and your choices and how much you need to learn. But now they learn that they realize that, and they look at the fault of the old soul. Sometimes looks at it like, oh my God, look at all the mistakes I've done. I've done so many mistakes, and and I've had and you just have guilt after it. You're realizing that in your mind, because you haven't learned that there's no such thing as right or wrong, in your mind you're still holding on to those concepts. So you're like, oh, I've done so much wrong, and look, that person did so much wrong. And a lot of old souls really have a tough time with depression. And because you like to speak, because you want to share your knowledge with the world, because you feel old, you feel mature, you realize no one listens to you. And this is tough. This is so tough for the old soul, because again, as an old soul, you want respect. Hey, I have been through the trenches. I have earned my wings. I have earned my badges. And now it's time for me to be the teacher and teach. But you haven't earned enough badges. And so you're trying to gain respect. And by that, that's the reason why you like to speak so much. And you feel that the more people are gained by your knowledge, the more that they're going to respect you. And the hardest thing about the old souls, and I'm going to listen up, old souls. One of the toughest things with the old souls is the struggling to listen. You guys don't listen. You're too busy yapping and not listening. For old souls, even though you're old, you like to talk more than you listen. And one of the things when you start to get into the elder old and the ancient souls, you're going to realize that listening is more effective than speaking. Because when people come to ask me all the time, Miss Raina, I struggle with, people don't listen. I struggle with this. How do you change the world? How do you do this? I said, well, one, the world's perfect the way it is. An ancient soul realizes that. I'm not trying to change the world into my vision. I am trying to help those mature through the age of all souls, and that's my job. But I do by example. An ancient soul realizes that. We do by example. And I mean, to the core, we realize that. A lot of people say, well, yeah, you lead by example. But then they'll go out and do their thing and talk about somebody, make fun of something, get into a fight. That's not the maturity. You realize that example leads throughout. So I tell you, stop being the wise one. Stop being this person that everyone has to listen to, because it's going to create the emotional chaos. You have to learn to master your emotions. I want you old souls to learn to master your emotions. This is why most of what I do, most people who listen to this show are usually elder adults to higher. They're usually old, so a lot of them are old souls, elder old, and that's it. Most people who are adult souls in that will have a hard time with my show, because they'll think I'm full of it, because they can't grab these concepts yet, because they do not have the emotional maturity. And that's fine. That is fine. That doesn't make them bad people. But when you learn to be an old soul, when you have got that, you learn to master the emotions. And so that's why what I teach people is to learn to master the emotions. I teach you why your emotions are creating the chaos. And in the old soul, you have to learn that. You have to learn that your actions, your thoughts, your ideas, your conditionings, your ideas, all these things that are going on in your heart and your head are creating that. And you can't do that by talking. This is the second most largest group who commit suicide. And why do you think that? Because you're emotional. Because you're realizing all the things that you've done. And you look at things as judgment, as good and bad, right or wrong. And you feel guilt about that. And because no one's listening to you and you want to make this world a better place, you look at yourself as a failure. And you haven't learned that there's no such thing as a failure. You haven't learned that yet. And so emotions are new. Emotions are raw. And you're so empathetic to things now. And then sometimes it transfers into sympathetic. And you become sad and depressed. And the world is too depressing. You're starting to see the truth of what the world really is in life. And that makes you sad. It makes you depressed. Sometimes it makes you feel hopeless. A lot of times old souls, elder old and ancient souls are loners. Why? Because the world can become too much. They don't care about cars. They don't care about status. They don't care about hurting people. They don't care about religion and politics. They don't care about this stuff. If you do, you still are pulling things in from other domes that you must learn to release in order to achieve the emotional freedom that you're looking for. And you have to learn this. My words, I could sit here and do this show for another 30 years and say it until I'm blue in the face, but until you make that effort to learn these things, they're just words. And words will never change you until you make that step. But you can't look at yourself in this defeatist attitude. They love to look at themselves as defeated. Well, you know, the world sucks. There's nothing I can do. No one's going to listen to me. And you go through these periods where you'll try really hard, and then all of a sudden you think you get this energy to you that you're just going to go out and take over the world, and then all of a sudden it doesn't happen. Then you go down the other way. And for the old souls, it's an emotional roller coaster. It's one extreme to the other. And so the old souls, from this point in, you are not going to fit in to the rest of the world. You won't. You will always be looked at as strange. I'm just telling you the way it is. You will always be looked at as odd. People will feel a little awkward around you. They'll feel a little intimidated by you. And the closer you get to being an ancient soul, because there's an emotional understanding that the other domes don't have. There's a different energy. Your vibration is higher. It's stronger. It resonates faster. And to someone who has a lower, denser, slower vibration, that's intimidating. So I'm going to tell you right now, you won't fit in, and that's okay. But that doesn't mean you can't have friends. That doesn't mean you can't have a wonderful life. I have a wonderful life, but when I go meet people take me very awkward all the time. People are intimidated by me right off the bat, or conversations just don't. And you know what? Honestly, old souls and ancient souls and elder souls, we don't like the small talk. We don't. We don't care about it, because unless you're going to stimulate our soul and challenge our soul and make our soul breathe new life, we don't want to hear it. It's the most amazing thing. And so this is why that separation happens. This is why that happens. And so don't think of it as a punishment. Don't think of it as, as like you were just put on this earth to not be understood. No, you just have to find out who you are and understand yourself so that you can go in the world and have other people understand you. So if you go in business and you hire a business coach or anything like that, the reason why businesses sometimes fail, right, is because people don't understand the concept. And most of the time, the people who are doing it don't know how to go out and do the things and market themselves and everything. So they hire. And that's what they tell you. Get to know your message, get to know these things, and then go out in the world. And you have more success that way. It's the same thing in life. You have to accept who you are in a world that doesn't. You have to get to know who you are. The world is going to be about, you're going to have to be able to say, me, not in the selfish sense, but me as in the strong, confident sense of saying, you know what, I know who I am, and regardless of what others think of me, regardless of how people are going to judge me, I know who I am. And that's what's going to make the biggest difference. All right, everybody, that is tonight's show. I think we got a couple of minutes left. Next week, we are going to finish up in the Age of All Souls. We are going to do the Elder Old and the Ancient Old, and we're going to break the Ancient Old Souls domes down into two brackets. We're going to go over a little bit. If you have any questions, people, I know this is a lot of information. I know it can be overwhelming. I don't expect you to memorize it. I don't even expect a lot of you to get this concept yet, and that's okay. Listen to the show over and over. Email me with your questions. I'd be happy to take the time to answer any questions and stuff, because that's how we grow. That's how we grow. So if you'd like to follow us, you can follow us on our Facebook at facebook.com/Transcendental Transformation Radio Show. That's all one word. Visit my website, soulandspiritguide.com, and make sure you sign up for the newsletter to receive hidden shows and VIP access. email me at transcendentaltransformations@gmail.com. Make sure you visit the w4cy.com website, and always remember to believe in yourself, and it's not our abilities or our talents that make us who we are, but it is our choices. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.